Got it. So recently I went to the Dallas-Fort Worth CIO HIMSS roundtable, and I met the CIOs there who work at these providers. And one of them, I questioned her, hey, if we need AI, what would be that one thing you want to, I want it really AI to be implemented for this. And she told me diagnosis and treatment. So can you tell me like how AI is playing a role? I know you did mention about reading the images. Can you tell me like from broadly how it can be implemented?
Yeah, I think that image analysis obviously is one of those examples. Providers sit on large amounts of data, and the whole idea around analyzing that data and based on certain features of within that data, servicing up recommendations for potential diagnosis of treatments can only be helpful to the providers, right? And so, what do I mean by that, right? Because of such large amount of data, you could focus on particular diseases that are seen at the provider specifically, analyze patient cohorts that fit within those, for example, diseases and other parameters, and based on what is being seen, be able to flag next time a doctor sees another patient that fits similar criteria, be able to flag up potential concerns or potential recommendations for procedures or I don't want to say recommendation for diagnosis because they have to have diagnosis themselves, but at least be able to surface up from that large amount of data something that is very relevant to this patient, so that providers can then go deeper, accept recommendation, don't accept recommendation, or go in a different direction, whichever way, right? But I think that her comment, I think, is right on. You need to leverage the amount of data that you're sitting on, and you need to leverage it in the right way, right? Now, I gave you an example of this. This was a real example where unfortunately, in the process of doing something like this, right, the design unfortunately called for a feature that negatively impacted population because it was used as a proxy for something else, right? I talked about the cost of procedures versus the needs, and so those are real examples. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to continue to use it. We need to just fix things and be very, very diligent about what it is that we're using and how we're using it, right? So that's, to me, that's from the diagnosis perspective and recommendation maybe of treatments. I think that can be really, really, really helpful, just given the amount of data that is available there. Yeah. So I kind of I guess tackled a little bit of both. I started with more recommendations around treatment, right? But the help around diagnosis is really rooted in ability to quickly process, again, large maybe medical scans or other types of medical data, and then again surface up flags for HCPs and doctors to kind of look at and things that they would have maybe missed in the past. Right. I think that those are great examples, and I can totally see where the value would come in, and this is it will be win-win for everyone, right? There's more efficiency. Now doctors are able to spend more time, hopefully, or at least see more patients because they're getting some of these recommendations, right? And then in the process, we're surfacing up some new things that should get the patient to the required treatment faster. As opposed to kind of the old ways. And I think that some of this, can be really important in areas that some for example, relatively rare diseases where you don't have a lot of data, but you still have to find something. You still have to try and help doctors, right? I mean, there are methods to really try and work on certain predictions to at least get them in the right direction, right? So, anyway, I see a lot of capabilities for AI to really help everybody.
Cool.